So we just inaugurated Donald Trump as the 45th president of the United States. Pretty remarkable, quite frankly. Now, remarkable, but historic? Probably not. Now, there have been a lot of discussions this week. I mean, as of today, this is I guess his third day on the job as the president. There have been a lot of discussions on the media about the size of the crowds at his inauguration versus the size of the crowds at the Women's March. And also comparing it to the size of the crowds during Obama's two inaugurations. Now, let's get something clear right now as far as from my perspective. The size of the crowds at the inauguration for President Trump, not important. Not really important. And quite frankly, when you take a look at the situation, there are actually quite a few circumstances that would have an impact on that would cause his not to be necessarily a record-setting crowd, and for the Women's March to be much larger. Now, think about this for a second. Okay, like I said, remarkable that he is now our president, because here is a businessman with basically zero political experience in his background. So that is unprecedented, okay? But is it historic? Not really. Not really looked at from a historical perspective, I don't think, on the same plane as, say, our first black president. Now, see, when you think about the inauguration of Barack Obama, especially his first time, now that was a once-in-a-lifetime event. If Hillary had been elected, it would have been a once-in-a-lifetime event because it would have been the first female president. But it was not a once-in-a-lifetime event this week. It was another guy, and sorry to say, another old white guy. In fact, the oldest white guy to ever be elected president. And so not a huge deal from a historic perspective. It was also on a Friday, okay? Workday, right? Workday. Friday is a workday. It was also raining out there in Washington, D.C. During the inauguration. And whether we like it or not, it's often said that the size of the crowd that's going to come to your funeral is more based on the weather than it is on anything else. And there's a lot of truth to be said about that. And when we think about the Women's March that was held, well, first of all, it was historic, okay? It was historic, having... I guess they said over 1 million women around the world at different cities, 500,000 women in Washington, D.C. I don't know how many they had. In reality, nobody really does know. But that was a historic occasion, okay? It was also on Saturday. Okay, a weekday, a weekend where not everybody has to be working on Saturday. It also, the weather was also much better on Saturday than it was on Friday. So there were circumstances that certainly impacted that. Now, that all said, let's take a look at this from a business perspective. And maybe look at it from the perspective of, okay, is there another reason why there might have been fewer people at Trump's inauguration than there were at the Women's March on Saturday? And I believe that there was. And I believe, I think that I heard one time that all politics is based on grievance. And there's a lot of truth to that statement, that when you get involved in politics, in a great deal of time, a great deal of the times that people do get involved in politics is because they have a grievance, because they want something to be fixed. And so when you think about the crowds for the Women's March, they were they had a grievance, and whether you want to say the grievance was against Trump or not. In large part it was, but they had a grievance, a mutual enemy, so to speak, that they were unhappy with. And when Trump was campaigning, the people who were supporting him had a grievance. They were the people who supported Trump were 100% dissatisfied with the current situation in Washington. They were dissatisfied with the people who were running for office because they were very, very similar to the people in the past. They were politicians. They did not want somebody who represented any part of status quo in the past to be their leader, and Trump spoke more to them from their grievance. And another word for grievance is pain. And so he spoke a lot to their pain, and that resonated with them. And he had huge crowds at his campaign stops and at his rallies, and you can't deny that, right? And so there was a tremendous amount of dissatisfaction, a tremendous amount of grievance, a tremendous amount of pain in the voters' hearts, so that they ended up electing Donald Trump president. I'm not going to get into the argument about popular vote versus electoral college. It is what it is. He is now the president, and it's irrelevant to have that argument. Okay. And for a lot of reasons, but I'm not going to get into those right now. Now, so we think about that even Hillary, even the opportunity to have the first woman president was simply not enough, because she was just still too much attached to, I don't know, what's the word? Establishment? Is that what it is? People were, they looked at Trump as being the only 100-degree alternative. So Trump won. So now the people who voted for Trump, they won. Their grievance is gone. He is now in office, and they're all saying, he's not there. He's now there. He promised he was going to fix things, and I believe he's going to do that. So their grievance is more or less gone. At least the big pain that they were talking about is more or less been taken care of, and it's gone. Now, the pain was palatable for the Women's March, and so that was huge. Now, what is the big business lesson here? It's obvious, okay? We talk a lot about that the two biggest motivators in life are pain and gain. And very often companies go out, and when they're selling a product or a service, for the most part, they say, here's what you will gain by using our product. Here's what you will, here's how you will benefit by, you will be better off when you use our product or our service. Okay. And so you're selling gain, but pain is a much bigger motivator. At least it is in my mind. And I think that the recent events, are good evidence for that. And what we need to do when we're trying to promote our products and our services to our audiences, to our stakeholders, to our customers, to our prospects, to the moose, as I talk about them, right? The question is, what pain can you solve for them? What grievance can you fix for them? What can you take away from them? Because the fact of the matter is that people will move heaven and earth to get rid of pain, especially when it's a lot of pain. And so the more that you can provide a answer to their pain, address a painful situation and say, I'm going to help you get rid of that. And that's what I'm providing you. Well, if you sell that to them, they are much, much more likely to pay attention to you than if you talk to them about how much you will gain when they work with you. That's my talk about this week. I kind of veered off my talk from the last couple of weeks about being uncopyable, because I just thought this was really a big comment that came out of the inauguration week. But I still want you to go out and get that Uncopyable book. It might not be available yet today. For some reason, the information I'm getting about when it's going to be available on Amazon isn't exactly right. So if you would like to just know when the book is coming out, just just go ahead and go to that link below, and that link right down there below that gives you a chance. All you have to do is put in your email, and then when it comes out, I will send you an email that announces it's coming out. And when I do send out the email telling people about the new book coming out, I will also be sharing with you an opportunity to attend webinars for free in return for your support in purchasing the book. So I hope that you join me. This is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad, marketing gunslinger. And always remember, be uncopyable. See you next week.